Hello and welcome back to IMD 127. Today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about our next assignment, which is our portrait composition, and it's going to be due October 29th before 5 p.m. If you'll email that to me as you guys have been doing up to this point, I'd appreciate it. This is going to be 5 inches wide by 7 inches tall. So let's go ahead and get started. So the new project or the new tool that we're going to be using here is going to be our gradient mesh. Now please don't feel that you have to tangle with the gradient mesh this time, but I wanted to introduce it. The gradient mesh is a formidable opponent, and once you turn it into your ally, you really have a powerful tool with you in Illustrator. So to do the gradient mesh, what you need to do is first of all have a shape. Now you can start with any shape. Let me go ahead and start with a ellipse tool. Start with that, and I'm going to change the color of that ellipse tool. Come over here and let me get a green swatch, and I'm going to come with my gradient swatch mesh tool, or I'm sorry, my mesh tool. I'm going to select that, and what you do is you've got a shape here, and the gradient mesh creates intersections. Right? And at these intersections are where you're going to have color changes. Now, right now, I have green selected, so at all of these color change points, or at these intersections, they're all associated with green, so it's a solid green. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and get some other colors and associate them with this gradient mesh. Now, there's two ways you can associate colors with the gradient mesh. One is you can put them on these points, on the intersection points, or you can put them in these enclosed shapes, one of these meshes here. And you'll see how those work here in 1 second. I'm going to add another gradient here and one more here. Now, the gradient mesh gets out of hand very quickly, so don't start going crazy and putting a bunch of intersections here just too early, but let's go ahead and see what we can do. So let's make this oval here a little bit more rounded. I'm going to put some highlights on there with maybe a lighter green color. I'm going to select here on my swatches, and with my object selected, I'm just going to drag and drop in one of these squares. Now what's going on here is you've got 100% of that color in this square. From edge to edge, that square or that shape there is the color that we've selected, this green. And then between this point and this point is the gradient. It goes from 100% of the color to 0% of the color. Okay, so let's come over here and let's say we want a real dark edge, a real dark part here, and you'll see 100% color filling that shape, that mesh there, and then it gradients to 0% of this color here in all directions. You can see right here it does the same thing. Now the second way to do this is let's go get a yellow, and I'm going to drag and drop this onto one of the intersections. Let's come over here all by itself. One of the intersections. And you'll see at this intersection, it's 100% yellow, and it fades out to 0% yellow. So there's the gradient. Okay? Now, when you're messing with the gradient mesh tool, it can get out of hand pretty quickly, like I said. So if it starts going crazy, what you need to do is with your direct selection tool, your white arrow, you can come in here and you can get rid of some of these intersections. Now, if you want to get rid of these intersections, it's going to get rid of two of these paths that we created, the horizontal and the vertical, if we've got this one selected. So I've got that selected, and all I'm going to do is hit delete. Now you can see that that one's gone right there. Okay, let's see this one over here. I'm going to select it and hit delete, and you can see that that one's gone. Okay, so if you want a long, smooth gradient, I would have fewer of the gradient meshes. So let's come over here and let's say I want that nice long gradient, and let's put this lighter green up here up top. That didn't help any. Here we go. So these long strokes of color, these long areas of color are going to make it a lot smoother, that gradient. Okay, so now how does this work with our portraits? I'm going to show you an extreme measure of the gradient mesh tool here, But do not get intimidated by this, because this is one of the more talented students I had. This is all gradient mesh. Now I'm going to go into outline mode to show you exactly how it's built. Okay, look at all those lines, all those meshes. Okay, now let's see what the original image looked like. Okay, there's the original image, and here's the recreated image. Original, recreated. All right, so there are a lot of gradient meshes in here. I'm going to come over here and unlock a lot of these layers so we can start kind of dissecting this. Okay, they're all unlocked. What I'm going to do is I'll lock that one because I believe that's the background. Let's see the face. I'm going to select the face, and I'm just going to drag it over here so we can kind of isolate it so you can see exactly what's going on. I'm going to duplicate it, put it over here, and this is the background face. This is where she started with her image. Okay, and this gradient mesh, what this student did was she layered it. She's got, like you can see, just the mouth right there, just the eyebrows right there, and the eye. Okay, so she went and she tackled the gradient mesh tool pretty much in a weekend, which I commend her for doing, because this is you can tell that there's a lot of hard work going into this. Okay, so there is the gradient mesh that she created for the background of that face. Now let's take a look at this eye here. She also, let me see here, she's got a lot of these eye pieces, these eye shapes that are gradient meshes. Okay, so I'm just deconstructing this a piece at a time. Okay. All right, now on this gradient mesh, let me go back here to a more simple object again. I'm going to create that. Let's turn it this blue, and let's add a couple of gradient meshes here. There we are, 1 and 2. And if I want to change where these meshes are, where these meet, I use my direct selection tool, and these are just like points and curves on a regular vector object. So you select it with the direct selection tool, and you can move that mesh. Now let's see what that does whenever we have color associated with it. Let's go to a darker blue here on the corner. There. And let's go and move that mesh. You can see how it kind of moved it over here. Let's move this one over here. Okay, you can see how I'm pushing that color closer to the edge. Alright, now this being a vector object, you can see these Bezier control handles. I can come over here and adjust those handles. Okay, so don't let it freak you out too much. This is a difficult tool to master, but you already are familiar with all the techniques that you need to be able to work successfully with this thing. The only thing that you might be lacking is patience, but that's just going to come with time. So I hope that you at least dabble with this, because it is, like I said, a very, very useful tool. And you can get a lot of those photorealistic image attributes with the gradient mesh tool. Alright, so let me see if I can get this back. Oh, there's her eye right there. Okay, so the gradient mesh tool, let me recreate the gradient here. I'm just going to come in here with an object selected. I'm just going to put those gradient meshes there. I'm going to drag and drop colors onto this mesh that I've created, and it's going to create that gradient that I'm looking for. Okay, so let me see here. I'm going to put one more up here, and I'm going to go with a yellow up top, just because it's ugly. Right, there we go. And you can see how it gradients between all of those transitions. All right, now if I'm going to edit that, I'm going to use my direct selection tool, and I'm going to push and pull those colors. Okay. And if I don't like where those colors are falling, I can come over here and adjust those control points to make those fades go a little bit better, a little bit more smooth. Just like that. Okay, I'm really going for this is very non-objective right here. But you can see what I'm doing there. Okay, and if I want to delete some of these anchor points, if I want to delete this one, I just select it with the direct selection tool and delete it, and there you go. All right, let me give you a couple of examples of some of the portraits that some of the other students have created. Here's one with the gradient mesh tool. Like I said, don't feel that you have to go and tackle the gradient mesh tool, but I wanted to make sure that you knew and you understand what it was. All right, so here's one that somebody did for the current president, Barack Obama. He did a very good job on this. It's not ultra realistic, but it's definitely recognizable. Okay. This is another really good one. Somebody said that they're getting really frustrated not being able to get that photorealistic look. This is an example of somebody not being able to do that, but they embraced it. They said, you know what? My images are going to come out looking cartoonish, so I might as well go with the flow. And this is what they created there. Very good example here. Here's one here. They did a little bit of auto trace on the face here, but still a very nice composition. They didn't auto trace all of it or live trace it. Here's a very nice one. Some more gradients. This one's just a regular circle or an oval with the gradients. Okay, some gradient meshes. Let me outline mode for that one. Okay. Get that shape there. That's just a regular shape. Another gradient mesh. This one's very nice. Okay. So don't feel that you have to go with the gradient mesh. This one's very nice, 3-color design. So again, real quickly, let me show you how this one was created. Let me kind of tear this one apart so you can kind of see the separate pieces. So you can see what kind of shapes they drew here. At first I looked at this, I said, aha, I caught you. Bunch of live traces. That's all you did on this one, is live trace it and you're turning it in. But the more I started looking at this, it's not live traced. This is a lot of hand-drawn shapes, a lot of hand-drawn objects coming together. Very stunning portrait. Now, some people have said, you know what? These are famous pieces of artwork. You know, some of the examples I show are very famous pieces of artwork. And I understand that, but I don't really have a problem with that because, one, we're not displaying this in any kind of public venue. Nobody is trying to resell these. Nobody's making money off of them. It's just for private display for learning purposes. Now, to kind of back that up a little bit more, in the past, very famous artists and very famous art schools have taken tours of museums, and they have had their students just sit in front of artwork and copied it. They learn from the masters by recreating the masterpieces that they've already created. So if you've fallen in love with a portrait, feel free to do that one, or a piece of artwork. All right, these again on the portrait are going to be due October 29th before 5 p.m., 5 inches wide, 7 inches tall. If you have any questions, please post to the discussion forums, send me an email, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Until next time, I look forward to seeing what you guys can do with this. You have extra time on this one, so use it wisely and have a good time.